On this episode of Cardinali's Mathletes, we will be looking at how to solve trigonometric equations. Before watching this video, make sure that you are familiar with the following concepts: special triangles, cast, factoring, and difference of squares. We will be solving each of the following questions within the domain of 0 to 2 pi. Let's start with the basics. Here we see an easier example of how to factor a trig equation. Treating it like solving a polynomial equation, we then collect like terms by moving the sine x over to the other side and dividing both sides by 2, which leaves us as sine x equals 1/2. Using cast, we know that sine is positive here and here. We now think back to our special triangles to find our acute angle using our knowledge that our sine value represents the sides that are opposite and the hypotenuse. Therefore, x equals pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Let's try another. Here we see an example just like the last, except we are using cosine. We collect like terms and divide both sides by 2, leaving us with cos x equals 1/2. Cosine is positive in these two quadrants, and we think back to our special triangles to find the value of the acute angle that has a cosine of 1 over 2. This being pi over 3 allows us to conclude that x is both pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Now for a harder one. For this example, we would have to use our knowledge of factoring. So we start by letting a equal cos x. This way we are able to see the equation in a more familiar way. Treating it like a quadratic equation, we can now factor, leaving us with 2a plus 1 multiplied by a plus 2 equals 0. We then set both brackets equal to 0. The values of a then become -2 and -1/2. Since we let cos x equal a, we must replace the a's with cos x, making the equations cos x equals -1/2 and cos x equals -2. We know that -2 is not a possible solution and can see this in greater detail when looking at the graph of cos. There is a maximum y value of 1 and a minimum y value of -1. There will be no points that have a y value less than -1. To find the other solutions, we can now use cast to solve for x. We use our special triangles to solve for where cosine is negative. If the acute angle is pi over 3, we can solve for x as being 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Now for our last and most complicated example. This question requires us to use the difference of squares technique. The factored form of the original equation is sine x minus 1/2 multiplied by sine x plus 1/2. This means that we must solve for x, where sine is both positive and negative. In terms of cast, we must solve for a value of x within each quadrant. Having filled in all the values for each triangle's sides, we can see that the acute angle is pi over 6. Therefore, the values of x are pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you now know how to solve a trigonometric equation.